At Ignite, there was a lot of discussions around the new Foundry control plane. And here's a blog post. I'll include a link to this blog post in this video description. But this is an offering provided by Microsoft and Foundry in particular that allows customers to go ahead and build, operate, and govern every agent. So in the Logic App session, which I'll also include a link to, we briefly showed this, but we were constrained for time, and so I wanted to spend a few more minutes just talking about it here. Now, if we scroll down in this blog post, we're going to see an image that represents the Foundry control plane. And so this is a situation where you can, number one, see an inventory of your agents in your enterprise, but then the ability to get information about the agent itself. So things like runs, errors, token usage, and costs in particular, in addition to alerts and events and things like that too. So this provides a more holistic view across the enterprise around what's been deployed, what's working in your particular environment, and giving you the opportunity to do some governance like stopping, starting, investigating, and being able to look horizontally in terms of what's been deployed. So yesterday, I did just demonstrate a use case just around a wealth management use case where we go ahead and call this particular conversational agent using Agent Loop here. And we've got a variety of different tools that we use to help a wealth manager go ahead and manage their customer engagements. And so I'll just give you a very quick tour of kind of what that looks like. So we're going to go ahead and start with obtaining information about a particular account. In this case, it's going to be Jordan Avery. All right, so we can now go ahead and get some news about one of his holdings in the customer portfolio, just around NVIDIA. So this is going to go ahead and call another tool, reaching out to the web, grabbing some information. And then we do want to meet with our customer, Jordan. So let's go ahead and check our calendar to see if we have any availability on December 1st. And then we can go ahead and book a meeting with Jordan. Now what's happening here underneath the hood is we are using OBO on behalf of. And so this is going to actually go ahead and execute in the security context of the logged in user, and therefore being able to access the logged in user's account. So we're going to go ahead and say that we want to select 8:30 as the time frame. And once we do that, we'll go ahead and also prepare a pre-meeting brief. And then as the wealth manager, I can go ahead and review that information before my meeting with Jordan so that I can provide great service to the customer. And so what's happening, obviously, when we're doing all of this stuff is that we are generating events and telemetry behind the scenes. Now, for this particular Logic app, and this is something that's coming soon publicly, so this is one of those things where you won't see it just yet, but we will populate the dependencies table with all of these different events and what we're calling traces. So these can actually be fairly sort of low level interactions between like the Logic app and our storage and the models and all of the inputs and outputs. Now, what's interesting about this is that this is going to be information that is now viewable as part of the Foundry control plane. So let's head out over there and see what's going on. So I'm in the new experience for Microsoft Foundry, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to choose Operate. Now, when I choose Operate, I've got a few more different options here, and I'm next going to go ahead and check on Assets. Now, from within Assets, I do need to provide some filters, right? So I'm going to go ahead and choose my specific subscription. And if I had the agent in a particular Foundry project, I'd select that. And then here I can choose my different sources. So it could be a Foundry agent, SRE agent, could be Logic Apps, Agent Loop, and obviously that's what we're going to talk about here today. And then we also have custom. And in the case of custom, you can go ahead and register an agent from an outside platform. So that could be, a third-party platform, another public cloud platform, kind of you have the ability to register those agents as well. So I'm going to choose Logic Apps here naturally. And now what I've got is I have the wealth management solution that I was just showing you. And like I said, this is a work in progress. And so we do have some additional sort of capabilities that we need to populate here, but just want to make sure that you are sort of aware that this is going on. Now I can go ahead and click on this particular row, and one of the things I could do if I wanted to stop this as an admin, I could go ahead and stop this particular agent and basically halt any processing. The other thing that I can do is I can deep link. So if I click into this link, that'll actually take me to the Logic app. Now what's also important here is that there's no elevation of security that's taking place. What I'm seeing in Foundry is basically what I have access to as well. So naturally, if you think about like subscription admins or tenant admins that would be sort of responsible for this sort of broad oversight, they would see whatever they have access to from that perspective. So those are some initial features that are available today publicly. Whenever you go ahead and save an agent loop based solution in Logic Apps, it will go ahead and register inside of Foundry. So you'll be able to find this. Now, one piece I talked about, that traces telemetry, that is something that will be coming soon. And let me just give you a sneak peek of what that looks like. So when I clicked on the link for that particular agent, we can now go ahead and see all of the various traces that have taken place for this particular agent itself. Now, we were just running this a little while ago, just a few minutes ago, and we can actually see that showing up here. And so naturally we can go ahead and click into this, and we'll be able to see all of this back and forth that was taking place inside of our solution. And so we can see calls to Salesforce and calling that action, getting tokens, being able to go ahead and interact with the LLM and whatnot. Now what's also super important here is that we have something I think that's going to be a lot of interest to people, is tokens, right? So tokens translates to costs, and I feel like that's something that we'll be able to action in the future, is be able to get the cost for those specific tokens. But here you can start to see the usage around those tokens, which I think is pretty important, because you're going to want to go ahead and see where your tokens are being used, and once again that would be an essential piece to governance. Now that that concludes sort of the demo itself, but I just wanted to kind of reiterate one thing, is when you think about Logic Apps and building your agentic solutions inside of Logic Apps, and if you have kind of concerns, well, like, hey, what's going on? Am I building this stuff in an island? The answer is no, right? So this is an example of how Logic Apps is participating in the broader Microsoft AI ecosystem, and this is just an example of how even if you build something inside of Logic Apps, you do have that visibility, that governance that is available through Foundry control plane, and we're participating in that overall experience. So thanks again, and check out the links in the description for more info.